Yep. Okay, are we ready to kick off? Okay, hereby call the January 3rd, 2019 Design Review Board meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is the consideration of the September 6th, 2018 minutes, which were emailed out, and I have a copy here if anyone wants to look at it.
I had a couple of questions about minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
On item 181365, Taco Bell building sign. It says the last sentence of the last paragraph, the channel letters will be white and the logo will be purple with a white bell in the middle. Did it end up just being all white?
Mhm.
This is how we approved it,
It ended up being all white.
but we approved it this way, with purple.
No,
So I think that might be, just to get it, it's not a big deal, with tiny details, but, I think it's just that the logo would be all white,
Mhm.
is what we approved. And then the next item, the Taco Bell color deviation, the second paragraph of the item, the first paragraph of the discussion, it talks about, this is Chairman Bailey asked if the questionnaire can be modified to ask for more than just a yes or no answer. What were specifically we talking about there?
Oh, that was the deviation request questionnaire. We have a pretty standard, there's an example of one on the meeting agenda tonight that
Yeah.
it asks a series of questions and the answers to the questions are very, there's no explanation of how, for example, they promote. I think let's get one of the deviation requests up.
So it says, Mr. Carpenter stated the wording can be modified to suit the board. Chairman Bailey stated if staff would like to present an idea at the next meeting, he would appreciate it.
Yep,
I
so,
don't know that we ever followed up.
so here's the questions. Will this deviation request undermine the visual appearance, continuity, and character of the scenic corridor? And I understand that that's possible to answer that yes or no, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be helpful to have, if the answer is no, why not give us an explanation of why that's the case? So,
So I guess we just need to close that loop.
yep. I think that was a comment that was perhaps direct, with regard to the Taco Bell application, that was the convention, at least as of that meeting. So my comments really had more to do with going forward. It'd be nice to have a little bit more information on these.
So Tim, I don't know if you were there at that meeting. I know you missed one.
I was not at that meeting.
I think we were looking for staff to come back with an idea of how to reword those questions to provide the opportunity for more than just a yes or no answer. If yes, please explain, something like that.
Yeah.
That would require an amendment to the land development code, because that's in the code. It's in chapter 6 now.
This is an example. So that's the actual application. There are 3 blank lines under each of the questions. I think if there were a yes or no answer were the intent, it'd just have a box for yes and a box for no.
Well, the idea is you would attach anything more
Yeah,
to it. As you can see, they didn't fill anything out at all, but
yeah.
the
And this is
intent,
not Taco Bell, by the way.
the intent,
Yeah, this is not really about Taco Bell specifically.
Yeah.
It's
the
general.
intent isn't to be a yes or no answer. The intent is to give a fuller explanation. I know a lot of people will just say yes, yes, yes. That's not the intent, but we don't have a lot of control on how they fill it out, But it is in the code, so if we wanted to amend it, which we can, but it
Yeah.
will take an amendment to the land development code.
Okay. Okay, well, maybe we should take this up since we're considering the minutes, we might want to take this up at the end of the meeting.
I think the only thing I would suggest for purposes of the minutes is just, it does least I didn't. I even had to ask what it's referring to.
Oh, what that was a reference to?
Maybe it's
Yeah.
just if the whatever questionnaire, is it D, what's
Yeah.
the title of the thing? Still have it up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had,
The deviation
let's see.
application questionnaire, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's, I think it's deviation request questionnaire is the title of the document, so. So, yeah, maybe we could just, this would be the second paragraph down on page 3. If we could, second sentence of that paragraph says, Chairman Bailey asked if the questionnaire can be modified, and it goes on. And maybe we could just ask if the deviation request questionnaire could be modified.
That's all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we dealt with the actual color approvals, the slats and the LED lighting at the December meeting.
Mhm, that's correct.
So that would be the most current approval of colors.
Yes, I actually think we approved the slats before. I think the only thing left at the December meeting was the LED lighting, right?
I think
Yeah,
we did
well,
this both at the December meeting, yeah.
We approved, I think, that the lighting would be integral to the slats. And that would all be considered as part of
Yeah.
branding or signage.
yeah, it's described in, if you read the three, there's three items, and the first one, the Taco Bell building sign, indicates it was approved at the meeting, at the September meeting. The Taco Bell color deviation was approved at the meeting. The Taco Bell material and backlighting deviation was broken into 2 pieces. We approved the material deviation at the September meeting, and we continued the backlighting deviation to the, I believe it was the December meeting.
That's
Mhm, mhm,
Yep.
we did, it was a December meeting. Mhm.
Yep. And that was based on when it would be constructed for us to look at.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So were we all satisfied that that's,
Are we
Covers it.
satisfied? I am, it's
Okay.
represented after.
yep, okay. Okay, in that case, do we have a motion relating to the minutes?
Motion to approve with the changes referenced.
Second,
Okay. It's been properly motioned and seconded. Do we have any other comments or questions? I don't know that we take public comment on minutes, but we can if we need to. Okay. All right, in that case, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next item is staff comments and announcements.
Good evening, Happy New Year. Typically, this is this area where we ask for continuances, so staff is requesting the Keys to Shine monument sign be continued to the February 7th DRB meeting.
Okay, is everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
All right. Any comments from the board? Any comments from staff? Any comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any, Oh.
I'll make a motion
oh, I'm sorry.
to continue to the February meeting.
Second,
Okay, they're probably moved and seconded. Thank you, Karen. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next item up is legislative item number 1, Candlewood Suites sign deviation number 1.
Well, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna do both of them at once, and we'll do two motions.
Okay.
So, there's 2 signs up there currently, and they want to replace them and refresh the signage on the building. So, the sign on the east was approved back when we were doing the policy of if you could see it from the road, it was allowed. So, they're wanting to replace those 2 signs, but they want to deviate in a couple different ways. So for number 1, they want to increase the sign height from 36 inches to 61.5 inches. And for deviation number 2, they also want to increase it from 36 inches to 61.5. They're identical signs. But they're also asking for a deviation for an additional sign, because under today's rules, that sign's not allowed. You can only get the south-facing sign facing 98. So this is at the Comfort Suites in Miramar Beach. It's located at 11396 Emerald Coast Parkway. So that's the request. They want to replace the 2 existing signs with 2 new signs. They want a deviation for that second sign, and then they want both signs to go from the maximum 36 inches in height to 61 and a half. So with that, I'll answer any questions. you may
Candlewood
have.
Suites, right? I think you said something else, country.
What, did I say something different?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yes,
Oh.
Candlewood Suites.
So Tim, the graphics that are in the package, it looks like the proposed signage is smaller. The letters are smaller and the overall area of the sign is smaller than the current sign.
Yes. But they went from 2 lines to 3 lines with the logo.
It's only the height that's an issue.
Oh,
The
okay,
total height of the
okay.
sign.
It's within the size, it meets the size, but it's, doesn't meet the overall height, because, basically, because
Okay,
they
so-
added the logo for a 3rd line.
Yeah, you said something that confused me, and that's why I asked this question, but I think I see the dimensions now. The largest letters indicated on the new sign appear to be 12 and a half inches tall.
Mhm.
I misunderstood when you mentioned the lettering. I think you meant the area of all the lettering was going to 61 inches tall.
Yeah, the overall sign height.
Okay, so do you think it's fair to say that with respect to the size of the signs, they appear to be becoming more compliant, perhaps the logo being accepted, than the existing signs?
Yes, I think it is smaller in terms of square footage than the existing sign,
Yeah.
but it's taller because they went from 2 lines to 3 lines.
So by doing this project, they're in the spirit, it would appear based on the graphics that the spirit of this is becoming more compliant, not less, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
agree with that.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody else?
I like it. I think it looks nice.
mean,
I think it looks a lot
much
better.
nicer.
So even though you talked about them together, we still need to do 2 separate items.
2 separate motions,
Well,
yes,
that's
because
where
they're 2 separate
how it's in
signs.
the agenda.
Okay.
And there's actually 3 deviations, 1 with the south-facing sign and 2 with the east-facing sign.
Y'all get that, the second deviation
Is
is
the
2
east.
deviations.
Mhm,
Yeah,
The
mhm.
additional sign that's not allowed and
and
the size.
the size, the same
Yeah,
as the first one, yeah.
Yeah, the
okay.
signs are identical
Yeah,
in
okay.
size.
Motion to approve the first deviation?
Okay, we've got a motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly motioned and seconded. Do we have any other comments on the board? Any, just so everybody can hear what.
They have to all have 4
Uh,
votes.
mhm,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, okay.
mhm.
Thank you, nick of
No,
time.
but I mean.
Okay, the applicant for this Candlewood Suites, are they present? Okay, because we have only 4 members of the Design Review Board present tonight, and there's a requirement to have at least 4 to pass, you basically need a unanimous vote. Put another way, if we had 6 members here, it could pass with a vote of 4 to 2. So, I guess I will ask, we've traditionally asked applicants if they wanted to proceed, based on the fact that there are only 4 members present. Okay, awesome. In that case, any other comments from the board? Okay, any further comments from staff? Any comments from the audience? Okay, no one's indicated they wish to speak to this item, so we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, second item, everybody understands what it is, basically the same deviation request again, and then the deviation for a second sign.
And could you go over where which way these signs face, and is there a road currently there, or is there a sign currently there on the building?
Yes, one faces south, the other faces east, and there are currently signs in both locations.
And we have Highway 98 south, is that
Yes.
what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I mentioned earlier, that sign was approved properly because we had that policy that if you could see it from the road, then it was allowed, so it was properly approved. But under today's regulations, that's not an allowable sign, so that's why they need the additional sign deviation.
Yeah, and I think that change in I guess that's an interpretive kind of a thing,
Yeah, because it was never in the code, it was basically a board policy.
and I think didn't it change under this board?
Yes.
I think our point was, most of the buildings along 98, you can see 3 sides, so
Mhm.
if you kept that, we'd have just signs.
And retail therapy does have 3 signs on each north, or south, east, and west.
There were multiple ones approved back
Mhm.
when.
Right.
I think that was over the summer that that change was made. But that's why they need that deviation, because they're both the same size, so they both need the height deviation, but they need that additional, because under today's rules, you only can have that second sign if you're on a corner lot, and this is not a corner lot.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Any other comments from staff? Anyone wish to comment from the audience? Okay, no one has indicated they wish to comment, so all in favor of the motion, say aye.
There was no
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry, I thought we had,
You can hurry.
I'm eager to get through this. Sorry about that, okay. I incorrectly interpreted Tom's comments as a hopeful motion. Okay, do we have a motion first?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Anybody want a second?
Question
Yes, sir.
for the record. These signs that are not on the primary elevation are currently existing in the old format of the sign, correct?
Yes.
That's my
correct.
understanding,
Just
yes.
like
Yes.
that picture that's existing is the actual second sign that's there now. So it's almost like
I'll second.
grandfather
Okay.
it in.
It's been properly moved and
Right.
seconded. Yeah, I mean, I think what we're getting is effectively,
Much-
in order for them to
nicer.
get a logo, we're getting a smaller, more compliant sign.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to provide that 2-part deviation request. Any other comments from staff? Any comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, that brings up the next item on the agenda, which is the
Sherwin-Williams Master
Sherwin-Williams.
Signage Plan. This was continued from last month's meeting. This is a master sign plan and a monument sign. The monument sign's included in this application. For the Sherwin-Williams site, it's it's on the south side of Highway 98 across from Veterans Road. This is compliant with the master signage regulations. With that, I'll answer any questions you can have. And the monument sign as well. The monument sign is in compliance with those regulations too.
Tim, do you recall the size of that building?
I do not. I know there's 4 units. There's Sherwin-Williams and there's 3 additional units, but I do not recall how big that building was. Maybe
I know
the-
when you drive by now, there's really only 2 bays at this point.
Hmm.
I think,
Which
I
is-
think that was,
Which is probably the Sherwin-Williams portion of the building.
if I'm remembering correctly, I think the majority of the building was gonna be the Sherwin-Williams location, and there was only one other tenant bay?
I
Looks
think
like
there's
2.
3. I think
It looks
there's
like 2.
4. I thought there was 4 total.
That front's 98 though?
No, not the
This is
front's
the big
98.
sign.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's only one other that
Yeah.
front's 98, I
Two.
should have been more clear.
The civil plan
That's-
Oh,
indicates,
okay, gotcha, okay.
the civil plan indicates gross floor area of 6,902 square feet.
There are 2, it looks like.
Okay, well, there's language, the reason I asked that, there's language in the plan that addresses the 15,000 square foot rule and changes the sign opportunities there to, 5 foot tall, maximum letter height 36, and it's really not even applicable,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
if that's the
true.
case.
Yeah,
They just took that straight out of the code.
Okay,
But
I
you're
just-
right, in this case.
When I read it, I said, what? 'Cause
Yeah.
I pass by that building twice a day.
so
You're-
you mean
you're right, it would
our
not be
thing is like
applicable.
15,000 is not
The whole building is not 15,000.
That's what I'm saying,
The
Yeah.
whole building.
the whole building is not.
It's 6,900 square.
That whole complex on that lot is not 15,000.
Yeah, it would be the less than, but they took that whole section out of the code, but the more than 15 would not be
And there was
applicable.
some other language in there, Tim, that dealt with vertical. A vertical sign would be allowed.
They are allowed, there's one at
Seascape.
Seascape, yes. And
Yeah,
there's one
it
in
does-
Grand Boulevard as well.
Yeah, vertical marquee signs will also be considered for corner tenants, subject to landlord and Walton County approval.
If I'm correct, the Seascape sign was part of a deviation situation, was it not?
No, it's on the corner.
Okay,
There others were.
Well,
That
Other
particular sign
signs.
was not the others were, but
Mhm.
that's on the corner of
Okay.
Seascape Drive or Boulevard, whatever that, so it was an allowable sign because it's on a corner
but
lot.
you're talking about the vertical. If I'm recalling correctly, again, this was a long time ago, it feels like 100 years. I thought it was a deviation.
Mhm.
But then when we went back and actually looked in the master signage plan had allowance for those, what did you call them? There's a name for them.
Blade,
What?
blade signs?
Yeah, blades,
No, that's,
which is the vertical.
okay.
no, blades are horizontal.
Whichever, there's a name for it.
A blade sign is horizontal. We're talking a vertical sign, like at the movie theater at Grand
marquee?
Boulevard.
No,
I mean, marquees are,
it doesn't matter. There's a term for it.
Yeah, I can't think of it either.
But that's how we found it in the master signage plan.
Yeah, and they're doing the same thing. They're putting it in their master signage plan to specifically allow for it.
So when would that be? If they,
I'm not actually seeing a corner unit, but it's on 4 different roads. I mean, this building sits on 4 different roads, so each side is a street, so they could have a sign on each side of the building. But I mean, from this diagram, I don't actually see a corner. Well, I guess this one's a corner unit right here, the one in the middle.
where does it talk about the vertical signs in this sign plan?
I'm trying to find that.
It's the last paragraph.
Oh, okay.
It's the second to last sentence in the last paragraph.
Okay, so it was, page sign, such tenant located in a corner location or angle wall may have a sign on each facade thereof, providing the arrangement of same meets landlord and Walton County approval.
Okay.
But
I believe
there-
the applicant is here and wishes to comment. Yeah, come on up, sir. And please introduce yourself and spell your name for the record.
Hi, my name's Paul Smith. I'm with Trinity Signs.
Okay.
So all that is showing, when you do a master signage plan, it's just saying that you're adopting the codes of the county. That's basically it. So, but in the master signage plan, you have to show the monument sign at the same time. It also, in there, says that we're only going to use reverse channel letters. There won't be vertical signs or anything. That's just part of the code. That's my cut and paste of master signage plans I do for Walton County. But it states in there that they will only be doing the reverse channel letters for all their building signs. And one monument wall, which is well under the square footage of what they're actually allowed to do.
So are you saying that vertical, that second to the last sentence, vertical marquee signs is in the Walton County code?
That's right. Those are out of the codes that they did for all different master signage plans that I've done.
Oh,
Showing that I'm
that's
adopting,
the sign.
showing that I'm adopting these codes, that they could do this, but it also states in there that they're just doing the reverse channel letters, which are not vertical signs or any other kind of signs. What he wanted was, it's only 3 units, by the way. They don't need a master signage plan. He just wanted to go ahead and do that. He wanted to keep the plaza looking really nice. They're gonna be doing some stone and all. He didn't want a tenant coming in there and trying to put up a different kind or trying to get different kind of sign passed. So I told him, well, let me do a master signage plan where they can only allow reverse letters. So now they'll never get approved for anything except reverse letters,
Okay.
is why he's
If
actually
that
doing
is
it.
the case, would it be possible just to remove that language?
Sure.
From the signage, master signage plan? I mean, if, building ownership changes or.
Yeah, they can strike it right out. It's,
That could change down the
So
road.
the
that's
sentence,
actually a cut and paste one I did for the seaside.
so, Lee, if we were to delete the second to the last sentence in paragraph H, landlord approval. That'd be acceptable, okay.
And I also wanted to ask, under canopy signs, allow but not required, these can be 21 inches high, 42 inches long. Is that just another thing from the code?
Yeah, it's underneath a walkway, when you're walking, it's a blade sign that hangs underneath. Like when you go out to outlet malls, when you're walking, cause you're not out to see the wording,
They have
so you can just
Silver
see
Sands,
where they're
they have
at.
The market shops, they both have, that's the main areas we have blade signs.
Oh, gotcha.
There may be some at Grand Boulevard, but I'm not sure.
Sometimes they don't, if you're walking and you're not sure
Yeah,
which tenant is where, it's underneath the roof while you're walking down the sidewalk.
I'm just trying to make sure we don't end up with potentially a different owner and all of a sudden we got, four.
Yeah, that's why they're doing the
signs.
master signage plan, it's for life, so they can't unless they come back and get something reapproved. And to address you on the big signs?
The
There
vertical?
are no, yeah, there's no vertical, and no, they wouldn't allow it when I go to the county to permit it because they don't have enough square footage.
Okay.
If they
And
had,
that's
they
why
would be
I
able
was
to do
sitting
that.
here looking, vertical marquee signs will also be considered for corner tenant, subject to landlord and Walton County approval, so we gotta see it again anyway.
Right, you would have to,
Mhm.
Well,
That's where I
no.
was.
well, you,
No,
no,
Walton County
Sign
needs them.
plan, you wouldn't see
Yeah.
it.
he would.
You would.
If there's a master signage plan in place, they're the approval.
What happened like at Grand Boulevard, I don't know if you remember like Mitchell's Fish Market out there, they
Mhm.
had ended up with a vertical sign on the back instead of going all the way across. They're pretty much them, and I don't know if I know of anybody else, there's not many places for a vertical to go.
Agony.
The theater.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Acme,
Acme
yeah,
and
Yeah.
the theater, Grand Boulevard both
Yes.
have one.
those big corners.
Those,
Mhm.
and those would require some really tall buildings to be able to get it vertical
Yeah,
Right.
and be seen, so,
and not look weird.
yeah.
I wanna make a positive comment.
Please do.
If that's okay.
Yes, that is allowed and encouraged.
Yes. I wanna commend you and the owner on, the, logo on the proposed signs being in keeping with the size, maximum sign requirements. Many times when we have deviation requests, we've already seen one tonight, they are centered around the company's logo.
Mhm.
And I've always had a philosophical challenge with it. I got over it for the one tonight because it was so much better than the old sign. But, I just think when, companies go the effort to shrink their logo down or change their logo to make it fit, and then we have others that get approval for deviations to have their logo larger, I have a philosophical issue with that. And I appreciate this company.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a push of the company, but the owner is the one that wanted, so
Yeah,
we went, before we brought the master signage plan, we said, look, we're going to do this.
I'm at the
And that way, that company couldn't come in and do something bigger, so they're always gonna be stuck. And every sign out there will be well under maximum size, including
That's great.
the wall, which could have been a lot bigger, but it's not.
It's great.
Very good, okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any other comments from you, Mr. Applicant? Nope. Staff? Okay, any comments or questions from the public? All right, this time I'll wait for a motion.
Make a motion.
To approve.
Second.
Excellent. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is, we continue Key to Shine, so Southeast Storage.
Yes, this is a major development order application submitted by Construction Design Management requesting approval to construct a 3-story, 48,375 square foot building to include self-storage on the existing site, which currently includes 150 units of mini warehouse on 3.42 acres with the future land use of neighborhood infill. It's located,
The location is incorrect, it's documented.
yeah, you're right, it is.
That's the Commerce Park.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah,
That threw me totally off.
I just pulled it up to figure out where this is and still don't know.
It's off of Forest Shore.
Yeah.
It's between
Between
98
Forest
and
Shore and
Forest Shore.
98. Forest Shore is the northern boundary, and Highway 98 is the southern boundary. And there's already, I think it's 3 mini warehouses, and this building make four buildings on the parcel.
So this building is gonna be in addition to what's currently,
Yes, this is 48,000 additional square feet.
Is this next to that design?
um,
Karen Warner?
There's a site,
kind of behind Chevy Containers.
there's a site plan,
Oh,
in the
it's
civil
Facing the
set.
other way, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a few, couple thousand yards east of Holiday Road. It's a-
orientation of the building.
Oh, it's on the north side of the road. Oh, I see what you're saying. It's on the north side of the road.
Look at the civil,
Yeah.
civil drawing, first page.
Is any part of that actually face and be seen by 98?
That's what I'm trying to get, what the face is.
Is there any portion of that building that's gonna be seen from Highway 98?
This building here, yes, it fronts to 98.
Is that the new proposed building?
This is the new proposed building, yes.
Okay, so the current ones do not?
The current ones, their sides face 98.
Okay.
So on the, in the architectural set, on the elevations,
I think that is right.
that front elevation faces 98. So then the left would be west, right would be east. Am I interpreting that correctly?
That is correct, yes.
So the top photograph there is going to be facing Highway 98?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Is there any renovation to the current buildings?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Tanya Nation. I'm with AvCon. We are representing, I do also have the owner and the architect here today. Yes, the existing buildings, they are going to be reskinned. The existing parking lot is going to, we're going to be installing drainage in the parking lot and then paving the surfaces and formalizing. Today, there's a lot of open storage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so that will be a formalized lot that will be shielded from Highway 98, so you will no longer see that. And because of the position of the building, you will no longer see the mini storage buildings from 98 as well.
What about from Forest Shore Drive? What will you see from there?
I think the landscape plan is one of the better plans to see. For Forest Shore Drive, this, for the residents over here, I've talked to several people that live in the community here. What they typically see today is a very thick vegetative buffer along the eastern side of the property line, which is to remain. None of those trees are going to be removed. And then we'll be providing additional landscape buffering along Forest Shore Drive to provide additional buffering. The view that they will see from Forest Shore will not be significantly changing because the buildings are going to be the same. It's just they're going to be reskinned, and so it'll have a cleaner gate and fence, and then additional landscaping. And today they can see that open storage, and they will not be able to see that.
Okay. You're talking about the boats and things that are, okay,
Yes.
okay.
And the dumpster, we moved it away from the residential. It'll be screened, and it's behind the new building. So everything is screened and set back from Highway 98.
Will the entrance to the building be from 98?
Yes. The primary entrance to the building will be from Highway 98. There is an exit only that is today, the primary entrance is off of Forest Shore Drive.
Right.
We are now providing that primary entrance off of Highway 98 with a gate on the backwest corner of the building here. And that'll be the primary ingress and egress, but people can exit the site from Forest Shore. So So
Thank you.
it'll end up ultimately reducing the number of trips that Forest Shore typically sees associated with this development.
Great, thank you.
I have a quick question. The lighting plan and the specs on the lighting fixtures looks pretty good. The highest lighting levels at 5-foot candles, which in the grand scheme of things is reasonable for a project like this. But I can't find anything, I see that most of the light fixtures are mounted to the walls of the buildings.
Yes, that's correct.
But it looks like on the perimeter, on the north side of the project, there are a few pole-mounted lights. There are some on the south side as well, but for the residential areas, how tall are these? Are they 14-foot standards?
They will not exceed 14 feet, that's
Okay,
correct.
good, awesome, okay. Good, well, I think that's good.
Do you have chips, color chips, underneath the exterior?
We brought, unfortunately, we did not bring the color chips, but we did provide a printout. But you know, when you print out things, this is an overcast stucco color, and I do have the architect so we can track these. And he does have the zinc actually in his card, the metal colors. He can make those chips if we need those, and then these are the two brick colors.
That looks much better than the way it's coming across on my screen. That's why I'm asking, because all we have is whatever we can see on the screen, you know, you can have a million different colors that.
For the record, I'm Luke Williams, one of the developers, and I'm also a neighbor. I have a house at 382 Bayshore Drive. And so we really want to clean up that Forest Drive area as well. You know, it's been an eyesore for a long time. And so our intentions are to really clean that up and have a really nice, modern self-storage facility that, quite frankly, just doesn't store construction debris. So that's our intentions. And then any other questions about the design and/or any of the architecture? We're very open to being in tune with the color palette of Highway 98. So we want to blend in very well.
I'll be paying.
I think that looks, I like the colors.
Yeah.
That's way better than what I was seeing on my screen.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice.
It looked very industrial and gray and dark, so this is better. I'm gonna do my thing that I always do.
I know, I was gonna wait to see if you were gonna bring that up.
I know that we have the plans, but they're on a computer screen, so I blow it way up. It's kind of challenging to see how things actually are sometimes. The rooftop equipment, it looks like you're screening it. This is a flat roof with parapets, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so it looks like you're screening it with some metal roof. How exactly is that gonna?
So any of the AC equipment, if we have any AC equipment at all, we typically tuck them in our rear elevation. So it'll either be behind a screen here on the rear elevation and/or on this back wall. We'll have a little patio area and take a unit and put the AC units there.
On the ground.
So none of that will be visible from 98.
That's the key, because we've had, especially with these flat roof buildings with the parapets,
Yeah.
you know, they think they're screening them, but then you can see it from other angles, you know what I mean?
Nothing will be visible from 98.
Good, please just make sure, because it's a nightmare trying to get it right after the fact.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board?
Landscaping looks really nice, so.
One thing I did want to mention is the future land use that was noted in here is actually, it is not neighborhood infill. It is zone coastal, mixed-use coastal center. Just wanted to make sure that that's the future land use, just for the record, just to keep it clean.
Okay.
Thank you.
Karen, can you capture that in the minutes, please? Okay. One other, this might be I don't think it affects anything, but the staff report, I think, reported the building is somewhat smaller than the civil plan calls out. The civil plan notes a building, the main warehouse being 61,275 square feet. I think I saw 4.
The proposed building is 48,375 feet. The total square footage with the existing buildings plus the new would be the greater number that's reflected on the civil plan, because the
Okay,
floor area ratio requirements require us to calculate the total square footage for the entire property.
property, okay. All right.
And
And-
we're not looking at any of this signage at this point,
I was
correct?
just gonna ask that.
That is correct.
Mhm.
That will be submitted under a separate request.
Okay.
But the storage, this is solely for the storage, there's no tenant bays or anything.
Single tenant.
That's correct.
So it's my understanding that the Forest Shore Drive side of it's gonna be cleaned up, it's gonna be buffered with landscaping, et cetera.
All new fencing,
And it's
screen, landscape. Yes,
Wonderful.
Yes. ma'am.
Sounds like a good improvement.
Yeah, like I said, we're a neighbor on Bay Shore, and we're really excited about getting it cleaned up ourselves. So-
Personally
Good,
invested.
good.
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
We
Okay.
support you
Did-
wholeheartedly.
I don't know if the audience has any comments.
Yeah, that's, I was just gonna see, any other comments or questions from the board? Anything else from staff on the project? All right, any comments or questions from any members of the audience? Nobody's indicated they wish to speak, so I think we're poised for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings up the last item on the agenda, the Santa Rosa Commerce Park.
Just to follow up with her comment, we do have zoning now that has been approved, so the land use districts have changed. And most of what we previously had as land use is now zoning, like infill, coastal center mixed use, village mixed use. Those are now zoning categories. There's different land use categories now, so just so you know, that was approved. We have zoning now, and we'll figure it out. Okay, Santa Rosa Commerce Park. This is a major development order application submitted by JP Engineering requesting approval to develop and construct an annex warehouse / retail building on 5.91 acres, which are future land use of VMU. This came in before that changed, so that's why it doesn't identify the zoning, because when this came in, we hadn't adopted zoning yet. Now, there are 3 deficiencies for this project. And they're gonna address all 3 of them, but one is a portion of the roof has a 2 to 12 pitch, the minimum was 4 to 12. The northern landscape buffer is short 1 understory tree, and there was no information provided in terms of the breakdown of the number of canopy, understory, and shrubs for the western and eastern landscape buffers. They did provide a revised, you all don't have it, I'm hoping they're gonna hand it out, or show it up here. They did provide a revised landscape plan that does show the breakdown of the western and eastern landscape buffers, but it still has the northern buffer being 1 understory tree short. And they can discuss the roof. It's only a portion of the roof that's at 2 to 12, so I'll entertain any questions you have of staff.
I do have a question that's related to the northern buffer. Can you describe what is happening north of both the current phase as well as the future phases? In terms of any existing land use?
The future phases are to the west. West, where it says parcel B, future phase, parcel
Oh,
C.
yeah. My question has to do with what is north of the project, and
Currently it's vacant, but because this is a commercial project, they require 20-foot buffer, so that's what they're providing, 20-foot. But that's
Is that
currently
residential
vacant.
parcel? What's the parcel zone to the north? Is that what you're trying
I don't
Yeah.
have,
Yeah. What's either the current or future use of it, and,
I don't have the aerial map with me, because the aerial map would tell me.
Yeah.
It's a residential
yeah,
parcel.
I'm generally familiar with the vicinity, and I think last time I drove down there, there's actually some porta potties sitting on the property, but,
Let's see.
I don't know if it's, I think
Okay,
it's,
they're showing
it's
on
the
their
one north of
site plan that it's small neighborhood and it's are there any single family units there now?
yeah. Okay,
Show small neighborhood, which would be the zoning now, small neighborhood.
okay, so the general answer is that for the current phase as well as the future phases, what's to the north is probably undeveloped or probably not its permanent
Right, it's
development, yeah,
it's mostly undeveloped.
okay.
And of course, to the west is DOT retention pond, right?
Okay, I guess staff, are you okay with the applicant coming up and?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Hello, I'm Matthew Parker with JP Engineering, Civil Engineer and Project Manager. We have here also the architect and the owners and their representatives today, so that if there's any questions that I can't answer, I'm sure that we can get them answered. We're excited about the project. It's a necessary project for our area. Right now, the existing United States Postal Service is underserved over there. They're really struggling, and they need a more modern, larger facility. In my opinion, it's the perfect place for it, and I'm gonna tell you why. On our site plan, on the east side of the property abutting Church Street, not only are we setting back, the buffering off of that eastern property line that we're required to provide, but there's also a strip of land to the east of that that is, state-owned. There's a small strip there, so in essence, the buffering is much larger against Church Street than what is required. So I think that the view from this corner is gonna be really nice and really blocked off. And the use that is there doesn't require visibility. It's a distribution facility for the Postal Service. So, you know, if you had some kind of, really strong, we've got retail up front that we're anticipating will be the retail portion of the Postal Service as well. But it's not really site required. We've got the frontage up front with the main entrance off of 98 further west. So the anticipation is, at this point, we're not submitting the signage. We've got some things to work out on that, but a lot of the signage will be pushed further to the center, closer to the main entrance. So this corner is gonna be really nice, really buffered. We came with a good, strong landscape package. I think that you've seen some nice material, that meets all of the requirements of the code. Something that I do want to point out, and that we've been working with your staff really closely on the lighting. We understand, my understanding is that 25 foot was the minimum. We've been informed that 14 foot is the standard. No problems there. We're gonna adjust the 14 foot, make sure we've got the blinders, no uplighting. Our photometric plans are indicating 0 foot candles or lumens off of the property. So all in all, with the balance that we have between the safety, security, and strength of what a Postal Service distribution facility requires, mixed with the aesthetic standard of Walton County, I think that we're delivering a fantastic project. And so, I can flip through and show you a few of the things. This is material stuff that I don't think you need to see grading and drainage. I don't know if you need to see that or not, but this is the grading and drainage plan. If you want to take a look at that. To the west of this property, right here is Department of Transportation Stormwater Facility. We're holding our stormwater facility back there, very close to that. So, talking about the buffering and some of the usage that is happening on the north side of the property, of this property. And this is all vacant. What we've got up here is a little dirt drive and an old,
It's a 20-acre parcel.
yes, there's got a kind of an old trailer sitting back there. I think Mr. Grant, Lee Grant, he's in the septic business, lives there. And we're, even though, we're still enhancing that buffer along that corridor. We've got the continuous hedge, with, the viburnum, I think they are. I can flip to the landscape plan in just a minute. And we've come with some good quality development. I'm gonna kind of flip that with the grading plan and the general idea there. The utility plan, a lot of our central, facilities are more off of 98 to help us buffer there. We work really closely with regional utilities, and we have, of course, what's required, the buffering around the above ground, utility, boxes, power boxes, backflow preventers, things like that. We have some details in the landscape plan that address that so that you cannot see that stuff, from 98. And we're really just all the way around. This is the, landscape plan that is included in your package. We recognize that, we do need the 26 trees on the back. We understand that and indicated that the landscape architect's text didn't get changed, but we're committing, and if we need to go on the record, we need 26 trees back there.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna do. And so, with that, I'd like to, back here, this is the table on one of the deficiencies that staff mentioned. This is the table that's been at, to kind of give you a breakdown of what's being placed there. On the parapet and the roof, I'll let Mr. Valley speak with that, because that has to do with the building, and he's got his own exhibits there for the architecture. So, if you've got any questions of me or anybody, we're here to answer.
So currently, the upfront portion of it that is going to be retail, that's going to be postal service, is that what the plan
At
is?
this time, that's not completely confirmed. That's what we anticipate happening, and we're in discussions with the Postal Service about that now, but that has not been finalized. So
It could be something other?
Yes,
than-
ma'am.
Okay. But the back portion of it, the warehouse portion of it, is what's going to be the distribution center?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
You have any-
You said we're okay on the western and eastern landscape buffers
Yes.
now with the new
Yes.
information?
And to the developer's credit, if I might, we're extending that buffer all the way through in this first phase.
Yep.
So this is the first phase of connectivity here, and that buffer's gonna extend all the way. We're even buffering against the, existing stormwater pond that's out there. So,
That is appreciated.
I think it's
Mhm.
good for a couple of reasons. One is it would not be unlikely that the land to the north eventually becomes residential, and if it does, that buffer will be much more mature by the time they start building, so that's a great idea.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Something I kind of wanted to point out is something I thought that was really cool. We've got a small little retention pond in the middle. It's really more of a, it collects water and then sends it back to the main pond.
Yeah.
But we put some bald cypress in there.
Yeah, little water garden, yeah.
Good.
Mixes it up a little bit
Mhm.
instead of, I mean, the oak trees are pretty, but to me, it's nice to have a little color change in that.
Right.
So you can kind of see the seasons, but with that, I'll turn it over to Tony.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
This one's been a little unusual for me because they really won't tell me a lot.
Well, they could, but then you know what happens next, right?
Yes. So because of serious security concerns that surround these facilities, they really don't share a lot of information.
Right.
So that extends to some extent to some of the equipment. So the issue that Tim was bringing up is his question as to what is the roof, what is the roof slope. The primary roof, there is a primary roof, it is a gable roof. It is a 4-on-12. What it has is some roof elements that you see in your package. So this is our roof, our 4-on-12. What we have is some screening elements that we're using to kind of hide everything. Also, along the sides, it does help to break things up along the length of this warehouse facility. It is a processing center, so inside is equipment, loud equipment. There is, because of the risk of biological attacks, there is a lot of exhaust equipment, and also because of the movement of the paper through the equipment, it does produce a lot of dust. That dust is combustible, therefore they have to screens these, what otherwise would be dormers or light wells, is to begin to conceal a multitude of things that we cannot foresee. And so what happens is, these essentially become parapet screen elements that are open behind and extend down to the lower walkway. And so there's a walkway on both sides of the building. On the west side, that walkway is for loading of the vehicles, because the Postal Service will actually use this side as more of a public face, so to speak, but there will be a covered walkway along there. The big equipment, the big trucks, all of that will happen on the back side, away from Highway 98. But where they actually load their vehicles, which you don't see quite as much right now, but it takes up, it's what takes up all their time, is the loading and unloading of their vehicles for the actual distribution. That happens along this side. And so the building has a public face, but then it has a public entrance, which is really minimized, because it's really a secondary part of what they do, and really they have a busy side along here. They require a cover there, but it also helps break up this otherwise very large 10,000 square foot warehouse. Can't have windows because of privacy and security concerns. Can't have doors because of privacy and security concerns. And that makes it kind of hard to do very much. Because it is a public facility, in terms of being a government facility, I did not feel that it would be appropriate for it to take on a residential or the more typical character. And so also because of maintenance concerns and fire concerns and some of the other issues, we have gone to something more substantive in terms of form and feel, more indicative of what I would associate with a government building, not necessarily, definitely trying to get away from anything that resembles retail. So the color scheme, it is from the muscle color charts. The primary accent that you would see is this. It always gets darker when you print it. It is that outer edge, that frame that goes along the outside. I would prefer it to be darker, but really this is as dark as we can get within our chart without getting off the chart. Our brick selection, which complements that, and then the furniture would be a bronze to play along with that. The roof is a bronze roof, metal roof. I think we have a piece, but otherwise it is just a standard bronze. Nothing unusual there. On the front, again, it is limited in terms of the amount of glass area because we don't know what's up there. So really you only have the glass low facing 98 on one side because that is the public entrance. They have the mailboxes that happen on the inside of the facility, which would line the walls of the perimeter. So we won't be able to have walls low, but we did want to bring in light up above and also give a little bit of relief. And so we do have the translucent glass up above. It limits heat, it's impact resistant, and you're familiar with it from the Five Guys structure over by the Big C, where we used it for a canopy roof over there. And it is visible because it does have an angle that allows light into the structure, and also at night would give it some presence. It's actually I've got a sample of that. You wouldn't be able to see actual forms inside, but it does provide some privacy, and also is very energy efficient.
And in the rendering, there appears to be 5 panels. 2 of them are kind of triangular, and then some other panels in there that are different.
I actually mixed in a couple of the 4, I have 3, you mean these 3?
There's, 3, and then there's,
Those are actual glass panels. So you can intermix the system to have actual glass units in it.
okay.
And I'm trying to find it, one in their literature.
Oh, so the rendering, I guess they're reflecting the sky or something like that, but those
Yes.
would actually be clear panels,
Those are.
not
those
colored.
are-
Okay, awesome, okay, yeah.
And I don't think I have one in this one. I can pull one up for you if you like that.
Okay. No, that just helps me understand what the rendering's depicting.
Yeah, and it's just a standard storefront within that frame, so.
Yeah, okay.
Were you saying that the the trucks that will be loading and unloading are gonna be on the side closest to the church and that neighborhood across that side road off, is that Church Street?
It's the small residential, it's the ones that go out into the neighborhoods. It's not, no big trucks.
Okay,
Big trucks are only in the back.
okay,
But what you do get on the side is the vehicles that are actually going through the neighborhood,
mhm,
which are just regular cars.
Right.
You know, nothing big, no vans or anything, they really can't get through town, anymore with these larger vehicles anyway, so.
Those
But-
are all facing 98 now,
are they?
Yeah, just load
where
it
the
up
post
front.
office is now.
Right, right,
Yeah, they just load it out front now, because they don't
Yeah.
have a back.
okay. So it's not anything that would distract from the homeowners over there or anything like that?
Oh, no, I mean, it's limited hours.
Yeah.
It'd be nothing
Okay.
during off hours,
Mhm.
there certainly won't be anything at night.
Okay,
And again, it's just regular cars, it's just
Mhm.
regular passenger vehicles.
Right.
It's not vans, it's not semis, it's not
Right.
like that. They
okay,
can't, they couldn't make the turns, I mean, this is just a two-hour parking area.
okay, okay.
So is elevation 4 showing the rear elevation?
Elevation one is showing rear, this one is the rear. Is two bays, two double doors. They don't allow for roll-up doors, and they don't allow for any windows. But this is actually a bay that goes into the building, and it's not really a loading dock, there's a loading area undercover. On the plan, you can see it.
I'm just trying, I'm,
So let me orient this one like this,
well, I don't have
so
north
it's
and
matching
south,
up.
east and west, I have.
Oh, yeah.
What
So
is
that's,
what
that's
is
the
what?
south elevation. That faces 98.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, 98 has the storefront. The,
That faces 98.
Okay,
And
okay.
so the church, the existing church is over here.
Okay,
And then
and then this.
that faces into the site,
okay,
This is
or
the back.
west.
This is where the big
Okay,
trucks
Yep.
will be. This is the
That one
bay,
faces east.
it's a loading bay,
Okay.
but again, it's no roll-up doors, it's not allowed,
mhm,
for
Mhm.
security, it's only a pair of reinforced metal doors. I believe they're only, I mean, it's the biggest we're allowed to do, is just these 6-foot doors. And they don't allow for anything larger than what they can carry out in their roll-out baskets.
And-
Theory is that someone would crash a vehicle through the door. And damage it. So, that's part of it.
And so the portions of the roof, of the three deficiencies noted, we've already discussed the two landscape-related, the site plan-related deficiencies are being, they've been corrected. And then, so the roof slope of 2 on 12 is actually predominantly a parapet.
It's
Or-
actually a roof element, it's not the roof itself, it's just, you could call it a it's a screen.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the same as a dormer. I don't consider it to be the roof at all.
yeah. I guess where I'm headed with it is that, if it were a roof of 2 on 12, I think, properly, we probably need a deviation request. I think this is actually more correctly called a parapet, and we don't have slope requirements for parapet, so.
Yeah, parapet, or for lack of a better term, a dormer. If it had a window behind it, it would be a light well.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
There's things that are analogous to it,
a screen,
but
yeah,
it's
screen,
nothing,
whatever.
yeah, but it's
But the primary roof form of the building is 4 on 12.
correct.
So then I'll go to, the question of, is it deviation then? Because we've gotta make that determination since there's no deviation request.
Well, that's exactly why I brought it up.
yeah,
It's just that I don't,
So are you saying you don't feel it's a deviation from the code?
that's correct. In other words, the object that has a slope of 2 on 12 is not,
It's
I
not a
don't think
roof.
it's correctly called roof.
Yeah, it doesn't have,
Hmm.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just open to hide equipment behind.
Staff, is that our purview to make that interpretation, determination, whatever you wanna call it?
Well, yeah, I mean, Dave is the design professional. I'm not an architect, so I just pointed out, it said 2 to 12, so I pointed it out.
Yeah.
These guys are the experts, so, and you guys, part of your job is to interpret these things?
To maybe say it another way, there would be no problem making those 2 on 12 slopes flat, other than they aesthetically wouldn't look as good as this does. I completely understand why you're doing it. basically, if you take those dormer elements off, you've got what the building is, which is a big warehouse. And so by putting these elements on there, I think you're doing exactly what you're trying to do, which is break up the warehouse form, plus you're screening the equipment. I agree, I mean, the character of the building, the color of the brick and all that type of stuff is quite different. But
Yeah.
once I realized it was a post office, I
Government
thought, oh,
looking.
that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's a different animal.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
it may sound kind of weird, but in saying that it looks like a post office, don't take this the wrong way, Tony, but
I get it.
It's
Yeah.
not-
It's institutional.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's very.
It's not generally gonna be considered a compliment, but the fact that it looks like a post office is important because it is a post office. Well,
And-
hopefully will be. a
And
post
really, I
office.
can't think of another federal building on 98,
Yeah,
other than the one with the mansard roof that looks like a restaurant, you know, next
Yeah,
to where
yeah.
it is now,
yeah,
which is very confusing.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think it should have an identity, and yes, you know, things have become a little institutional these days with these government buildings, but,
and the context that it's in, the scale of the other buildings around it, things like that. I mean, nothing's permanent, I guess, building wise, but, you know, there's a church across the street that's pretty much a big warehouse that's detailed up to look like a church and, you know,
and it is isolated. The other development that is projected on the property would be away from it and clustered together.
yeah.
So this one does
Yeah.
stand separate, and also that's partly a security concern as well.
I think you did a very nice job.
Thank you.
Do we, just out of curiosity, do you have anyone in the audience who is not affiliated with the project? And that's just so I'll know if we have any members of the public that want to comment.
I just live on South Church Street.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't see you back there because of the, there we go. That's exactly why I'm asking the question. So, if the board's okay, I'd like to invite, any comments from the public, if you'd like to make any, okay? I did, yes, I was either, I'm sorry, I forgot, you're Tim, the engineer? No, Matt, I'm sorry, Matt. Had addressed that the standards indicated were 20 feet, but they've already acknowledged that 14 feet is what's
There
required.
was
so-
brightness and kelvins.
Yeah, they actually, the lighting levels are actually down even, they got a chart that.
Pretty low.
Yeah, they're pretty low. I wanna say the brightest lights on the site, I may have closed it already. I think they were down in the less than 5, yeah.
Yeah, 4.62.
Yep. Yep, so, and again, in the event there's ever residential north, the standards are nice and low and I think it'd be.
Can I ask this question? My understanding that staff, other than the pitch of the roof, which Tony, you've explained, there was a landscape deficiency with a couple of trees, one in the front, one in the back, and that's been now corrected, I believe.
Yes.
Well, that's actually the only thing that hasn't been corrected. All they have to do is provide a new revised landscape plan. So the only outstanding issue currently is they're one understory tree short on that northern landscape buffer. Everything else,
So we make
has
the
been
condition
resolved.
for approval.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this project, contingent upon the, additional trees for the landscaping, on the north and south side. And I think that's the only thing,
Yeah,
that
just-
we would have to
just-
condition.
It's
put in
just,
Just
your
one-
motion to provide a revised landscape plan
that meets the code,
Okay,
that's compliant.
that's compliant.
So contingent on the,
so move.
Karen, are you good with that? Okay. All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly motioned and seconded. All right, and I guess I'll just very, very quickly, one last time. Does anybody in the room have any additional comments that would like to make? All right, in that case, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, that was the last item on the agenda. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up?
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate to bring it up here now, but I'm having a little difficulty understanding why we're going to be moving these meetings to Freeport. I don't think that, since this board represents people on Highway 98 in the south of 331 Bridge, it doesn't make sense to me that we're moving it away from people that it pertains to.
I have the same
Do you?
very difficult concern. There's a lot of people trekking away from where
Mhm.
the developments are.
Is there anything staff can do about that?
I didn't hear what you were discussing, so I was asking them to take it outside.
What I was saying is that I don't think it's appropriate for us to move this meeting to Freeport because it applies to people on Highway 98 and south of the 331 bridge, and we're taking it away from them, making it more difficult for people that need to come or want to come to attend the meetings, and I just don't think that's appropriate.
We are moving a number of meetings from this location. This location is going to be under construction for some period of time, and it won't be available to us. But it's certainly appropriate to continue to have the permanent location in South Walton adjacent to one of the two roadways that this board has purview over.
So the relocation, I think, what I'm hearing is the relocation is a temporary issue because the building we're in is going to be under
Yeah,
construction.
this room is going to get about 1/3 larger. That portion of the building and that room over there will be incorporated into a new boardroom, so we can accommodate larger crowds as population continues to grow here in South County. But that would just be a temporary move. We do have a very nice facility in Freeport. If you haven't seen it, we welcome you to come by and get a tour. But I would agree with you that it would be appropriate for this particular board, since its jurisdiction is south of the bay, to continue to be held at this office, and staff is very happy to accommodate that.
Thank you.
That's good, because the
Well,
crowds we're
when we
expecting
have
in future
moved,
meetings.
Temporarily, the only other location we have available to us that provides recording facilities is over at the TDC building. And at some point during this year, that building will be gone also.
Gone?
As we build a new TDC facility just north of this location on the parcels that the county has recently acquired.
Also, the TDC building equipment is going to our Freeport boardroom, so we won't have that either.
Well, and that, thank you for pointing that out. When we have had that, the meetings over there for various boards, it has been kind of difficult to accurately capture all of the public meeting. The facilities over there are designed for much smaller meetings. But it would just be a temporary move, but you make a very good point. This board serves this portion of the county, at least today anyway. That could get expanded at some point. But it is appropriate that it be held in the area that is within the jurisdiction.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And that boardroom is not available yet to us either, so it's still under construction, but it should be finished up hopefully by mid-February.
Okay.
Okay.
And I just wanted to mention a couple quick things. Well, I guess, I don't know if they're quick or not, depending on how much detail we want to go into tonight, but we're also missing almost half the board. So we've had a lot of discussion the last few meetings about two things, small cell utility poles and code enforcement challenges. So I don't know if there's any update on that. I think at the last meeting where we had significant discussion, we requested an opportunity to look at alternatives for the small cell structures that might be considerable for US 98 and 331, at least what we have oversight of, and have some further discussion about whether there might be some possibilities, because when we did look at it, we weren't shown any alternatives except for one, which was not relevant to me for us. And then on the code enforcement side, I think multiple members of the board have expressed some concerns with long-running issues out there. And so, and also, one big aspect of that was code enforcement department's interpretation that we, as a design review board, could not bring compliance issues to public. And so I think Sydney was at that meeting and said she was gonna look into that.
Well, and on that specific point, I have a disagreement with our former code manager, who is no longer with us. And I received the applications for the replacement today, and I have 24 candidates for that job.
Who is the former one that's,
William Williams,
okay,
Bill Williams,
okay.
he's no longer in service to the county.
I thought he'd already been replaced. Wasn't there someone appointed?
We have Kurt Rose is temporarily fulfilling that function while we're going through the selection process. But we've got 24 applicants for code enforcement manager.
How many can you hire?
How many can we hire?
I mean, not managers, but code enforcement, because there's obviously not enough.
We asked for an additional officer in this year's budget, and it was not funded by the county commission.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But we have a couple of new commissioners now also that are very interested in code enforcement for various reasons. But that is a decision made by the Board of County Commissioners. And we will continue to ask for more staff at every opportunity. But I expect with a new code enforcement manager, we'll see a little bit more robust code enforcement, certainly in the scenic corridors. We're just short-handed right now. We didn't get the staff that we asked for in the budget, but we're about to start the budgeting process again here in the next month for the next fiscal year, and we will be asking for additional code enforcement staff. But one good thing, we've gotten everybody from our 2 offices in one location. That's going to provide us some tremendous economies of scale, since we won't have to staff 2 offices for whatever may come to either of the offices. And that's already paid us some dividends with regard to productivity. We've gotten everything moved into our new facility. We're not sure where it all is yet, but we can lock it up, and it is warm and dry, or cool and dry as the climate needs to be. But we do expect to see some additional code enforcement activity.
Did I understand Defuniak's planning office is down in Freeport now?
Yes, sir. We closed the office that was in the annex immediately west of the courthouse in Defuniak. The building department is still there, staffed with the building official and I think 4 individuals there. The building staff that was stationed right through this door back here has been moved to the new Freeport office. And we've got a very nice new facility provided by the county commissioners, we expect it will increase our level of service both from planning and from code enforcement and the building department. And we do invite you to come by, and we'll give you a tour at your convenience.
Super.
It's a long way from the front door all the way to the back door. It's space that we've needed for a long time, and one of the reasons that we weren't able to hire additional staff is we didn't have anywhere else for them to sit or stand. And we had a couple of people that pretty much stood up all day at the counter, and we just ran out of space. I mean, our county continues to grow. We continue to add skills in the planning department, and we're looking forward to just some really robust planning activities coming up in the next year. I mean, our 331 plan will continue to be modified. We're still looking at a 1 million square foot distribution center out in Mossy Head. And if that doesn't go, FedEx may buy that site and further expand out there. So, but lots of things are happening. We still have transit coming, commuter assistance transit from Defuniak all the way to South County. And we have a service development grant for transit east and west on 98 and 30A that has at least gotten preliminarily approved by FDOT. It's in the 5-year work plan and in the long-range transportation plan. And hopefully we'll be getting some additional grant paperwork on that very soon. So we're going to bring transit to Walton County. We are, next Tuesday, continuing the Chapter 5 of the Land Development Code, which is the final chapter to be adopted, along with our companion stormwater manual, because we want to have some additional public engagement opportunities, and plus we have to engage the sheriff and discuss the idea of parking enforcement. One of the considerations in Chapter 5 is to reduce vacation rental homes to 4 parking spaces maximum, not minimum, maximum. And to do that, we've got to have a way for folks to get from here to there. So they can afford to only bring 4 cars down for that 20 to 30 person bed house. But there are a number of things we're working on. That's extended through February 12th. So we look forward to any input y'all might provide on that also. That chapter is posted on the county website, and we'll have a little bit more time to massage that and take public input and try to make it the best we can, and hopefully get it adopted on February 12th.
That's great. That's great. Okay.
We
So
got-
you'll take public input on that, so that's good. That's good.
And the other good thing here is we finally have a comprehensive plan subject to getting Chapter 5 adopted, and a land development code that will only have one set of definitions. They'll be in the land development code. It'll apply to the comp plan and land development code, and all those inconsistencies that we've all struggled with for the last 20 years have been eliminated.
Wonderful.
So if you need to develop or you want to know what the rules are, you're looking at the land development code, which is also where the zoning is located. You won't really have to focus on the comprehensive plan because it's become a much more general plan, the way it really should have been intended in the beginning. And the land development code is really where the rubber meets the road and where the details are. And if you comply with the land development code, you can be assured that you've complied with the comprehensive plan, which has not been the case for the last 20 years. So we are, as staff, certainly looking very forward to that. It makes our job so much easier. It makes it so much easier for our development community, our public, to understand what the rules are. And hopefully it's written in such a manner that you don't have to be a Wall Street lawyer to interpret what the true meaning is. No disrespect to our community of Wall Street lawyers, but we really don't need them interpreting every land use question.
Glad to hear that. Sounds great. Looking forward to some good changes.
And the changes that were the result of the workshops have been incorporated into Chapter 6. That all got
Wonderful.
rolled into. So the new scenic corridor, it's not just scenic corridor, but the scenic corridor regulations are now in Chapter 6, but it's more than just that. Other stuff was rolled in there as well. What do we have now? Just the six chapters now?
It's like 8 plus a glossary or 9 plus a glossary or something.
Well, it got smaller in terms of chapters.
Yes.
Yes, Chapter 1 now incorporates Chapter 9 that dealt with boards such as this, Chapter 10 and Chapter 11, which were both our development order procedures and the rest of our procedures, notice requirements and those kinds of things. Those have all been rolled into Chapter 1. And ideally, if you pick the book up, it's much more logically laid out and much easier to understand, and ideally less expensive to follow.
Good.
So
Good.
we're very happy
Sounds like
about that.
movement's in the right direction.
Yes.
A lot of good stuff going on.
So just to kind of close the circle on what I brought up earlier, my suggestion would be that if you guys could reach out to the gentleman that came to us before from AT&T, Verizon, whatever, that talked
The
about
small cell.
cell, if he, it's to save your staff work, if he could come back, or someone like him, and show us different alternatives that can better blend those poles or camouflage those poles in to the environment, that would be great. And the other thing that came up in our discussion about that was that there's a current effort at the state level to preempt is a big one. And today, might be different in a few months, but today, local government does have some control over the aesthetics, some of these, these poles or structures within reason. In the code, it says that, in the state statute. And, there's an expectation that the state may even attempt to take that purview away from local governments. But at times, if local governments already have existing ordinances in place, they will grandfather them in. So I made the suggestion a few months ago that the county look at implementing an ordinance. And there are plenty of them out there. A lot of states, counties, not states, counties and cities have done a lot of work to get one in place that complies. I think Sydney was gonna check out Destin's. They just implemented one, or are in the process of implementing it. And I know their land use attorney worked very hard to make sure it comported with state limitations on that. But I don't think it could hurt to get something in place, because this is gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be, once it comes, it's gonna be a tsunami of structures out there. And then on the code enforcement side, I think there have been a lot of things that have specifically been brought up by multiple members of this board. And I guess because of the turnover at the manager level, there's been a lack of follow-up back to us on it. So I'd love to close some of those circles as well, and really figure out what's going on with some of that long-standing issues of non-compliance.
Well, certainly on the small cell, staff certainly supports that, and I agree with you. If we can get something in place before the state legislature takes our opportunity away, I'm certain that our county commission would be supportive of that idea also.
Could we do maybe two things then? How about for the February meeting agenda, we add an agenda item for the discussing the small cell towers, and then we got a placeholder. And then second, and perhaps the agenda item could be right now to just review, if we could get a copy of the Destin.
We'll reach out and get what they have, and
And maybe any others, if you're aware of any others, but maybe we could have a little packet of that type of thing. And then second, perhaps the last item on every agenda for the 2019 could be a review of the current code enforcement cases just be a sort of informational package of the current code enforcement cases in our.
Or not cases yet. Some of them need to be cases.
Well, some of them might need to be
They're
cases,
not.
but I guess where I'm going is
And
that
we had that discussion, remember that.
some of them are cases,
We can bring them in.
but it would be just
Code
an update
enforcement
on,
manager.
yeah.
They could come, if it's.
Yeah, maybe it could be that. I don't want to make a lot of extra work, but if there are code enforcement cases going on in our purview, the area of our purview.
Which there honestly aren't a lot that actually make it to code enforcement cases.
Yeah.
They typically
It
get
should.
remedied if they go that far. It's the ones that haven't been
Yeah, and I
To
could
that
think,
point yet.
not to rehash them all, but the signage and lighting and
rooftop equipment, we've got
Rooftop,
all,
yeah.
we've got all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff out there.
it'd just be made good, because once the list is created, it's a matter of updating it with, some items will be the same from month to month.
And that was what we
But
talked about.
if that
too.
way, if we can apply some pressure,
Yeah, and we even talked about once a quarter, every 6 months, whatever, having the code enforcement manager come to our meeting. And you could have it at the end of the meeting of a dialogue.
Yeah.
Talk about concerns, updates on whatever we've been following.
quite frankly, with our previous manager, there just wasn't the right level of interest.
I'm aware.
And he is no longer with us.
So hopefully that will be different going forward.
I strongly look forward to that, because I share some of these very, very sore spots.
And
as
I think
drive
that
down
can be really
98.
effective and helpful
Hey,
both ways.
the number of times
because
that we've been,
Right.
the number of times we've had an applicant bring
photos.
some level of documentation of reasons they thought their project should be approved, and they showed us
Pictures.
predominantly code enforcement cases, issues that are
That's right.
code enforcement cases, or they should be.
That's-
Non-compliant structures.
That's one side of it. The opposite side is that we are inherently, because of how we're chosen to serve, constantly in the community.
Right.
And we see this stuff, whereas a code enforcement manager is not a few times a day running, driving
Right.
around. And so
Mhm.
especially when it comes to like patterns and trends. I think we could be very helpful in bringing some of those things to their attention. But yes, that's one thing that started the entire discussion was the proliferation of applicants bringing us pictures
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
things that are,
Why do I have to do this if they don't have to do it?
makes our
Is
job
the-
much more
mhm.
difficult.
And one thing we're working very hard on is making sure that our commission is consistently behind the appropriate level of code enforcement and those things that are complaint-driven versus those things that staff can be proactive on. So that is something that we have been working on as diplomatically as we can. And we will continue that effort.
Hopefully, some of the new changes will make that happen.
Any pressure from the public always helps support that. However, we get pressure from the public in the opposite direction also.
Right.
And it's somewhat of a balance, given our limited resources. But we're gonna work on getting more resources and work on support for proactive enforcement.
Perfect.
And my message to the county staff and elected officials when there's pressure from the public not to enforce the code is that's just not acceptable or doable. If someone has a problem with the code, they're welcome to present a change to the code that would make it more acceptable to them. And if they can get the buy-in of the public and the county commissioners to
Mhm.
vote that change in, then great. But otherwise, the
Oh,
rules
yeah.
and the laws are the rules and the laws.
Right, right,
So you enforce them, or you
Right.
change them.
right,
But you don't just not enforce them because someone doesn't like them.
right,
Well,
absolutely.
and we did make a number of changes in the land development code related to code enforcement and their ability to identify various things, and to proactively, pursue those without a specific complaint. But we've come a long way in code enforcement as far as the attitude of the county commission with regard to enforcing the code.
Good.
Everybody wants the code enforced until it's enforced against them.
Yes, indeed.
But
Okay.
it is important to preserving property values, and it's important that it's fairly enforced and consistently enforced.
Fair.
And that's what we're working towards.
I agree.
Wonderful.
Here, here. Okay,
I have a motion.
yes.
We adjourn.
We have a proper motion and
Second.
second, anyone
I'm
not in
in
favor? All right, everyone's in favor.
Hold on.
We stand adjourned.
Thank
Now I gotta
you.
get out of this chair.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.